In the last 1 week, doing one thing or the other at work, you've most likely used one of the popular AI chatbots we hear of everywhere to do maybe generate text, generate images, work on video or anything. And everything you do with these chatbots means adding or uploading data on it. But do you trust what happens after you press send on this data you upload on these chatbots? Today on Take Your Business, I'll show you three things you should be aware of when using data, especially sensitive data with these AI chatbots. Probably you've thought of it, probably I'm just making you aware of it. And also today, in the next few minutes, I'll show you different steps you can take to make sure that your sensitive information is protected while you still take full advantage of the speed and efficiency that you get from using AI in your business. Like I said before, this is the Tech Your Business podcast, and I'm Peter Banigo. And over the past 2 or 3 years, I have seen AI grow in businesses, being used by businesses like nothing else before in my career. I've seen it used for different things like text generation, letters, articles, for analysis, for image generation, for videos, for customer service, like our product instance setters, for so many things, for even agents. You've heard of the AI agents that take over your computer and do things for you. So it's everywhere. It's getting more popular and it's getting much better than when it started a few years ago. So at the end of the day, your business can't really avoid using AI. And the effect of AI has been great because you see small teams doing a whole lot more because it has made them more efficient. But behind the scenes, though, when you look at it, there have been issues. Back in 2023, there was an issue where Samsung, the Samsung we know, had their sensitive code leaked on AI. We also had a few years ago the Dutch healthcare scandal also linked with AI. Then there have been, of recent, there have been models, I won't be calling any names, but models, AI models released where people have raised concerns about the security of their data, the origin of these models, and what happens to the data that they submit, that they send to these AI models. So next, I'll talk about 3 points, three things that are important and that you should take into cognizance that are important when using AI for your business. And the first of them is the data, the exposure of your data, especially your sensitive or proprietary data. So basically, how AI works, AI is a program, and this program is fed a lot of data, a lot of books, articles, websites, blogs, and everything. This program looks at this whole data, and at the end of the day, there are patterns, patterns to language, patterns to math, patterns to code, and it recognizes this pattern. So what AI does is when you ask a question of AI, it looks at this data, all these things it has, and tries to predict the next logical or likely word, which keeps predicting words and predicting out of words, predicting sentences and paragraphs. And that's basically, I think, the one of the simplest ways I can describe how AI works. And this description shows the first danger that I'm talking about. I talked about being concerned about what happens when you press send in your AI chats. And the thing is, for a lot of the AI chatbots, we might not be concerned, but the truth is, for a lot of them, if you do not explicitly state that you don't want your data, which you entered in those bots, used subsequently, it is going to be used. And like I explained just now, imagine you put in sensitive data, customer data, sensitive code, you put in numbers, and then the model picks up this thing you put in and adds it to the terabytes of data it has. This means that the next time someone else, probably your competitor, asks a question that you've already solved, this model is probably going to pick out that your solution, which you put into the model, and you didn't state that it shouldn't reuse, and it's going to give that to your competitor for $20 or free a month. And this means that your secrets, your business secrets, are now public knowledge. Competitors, everybody's going to have it. And this is exactly what happened in the Samsung case I mentioned about, which was in 2023. So an engineer in Samsung fed in some of their source code. So the code used in building their devices, fed it into ChatGPT. That's the most popular one we all know. And at the end of the day, they found out that that code, which was fed into ChatGPT to check the code, was leaked. Sad. And this also happened in the Dutch case I mentioned earlier. In that case, medical practices fed patient data. Patient data is always protected. Fed used patient data in asking questions on these chat models, and it ended up getting leaked. The DPA, that's the Dutch Data Protection Agency, actually flagged this. And I think if you check online, you're going to see more details about the case. This episode is not about the case. So those are the risks of using these models, especially first of all, if you don't explicitly state that your data shouldn't be used. And secondly, what if it's a shady model and whether it states it shouldn't be used or not, it uses it anyway. So that's the first danger, exposure of your sensitive proprietary data for your business. So the next point I'll talk about is vulnerabilities. It's malicious use of your data. So this is closely tied with the first point. Imagine, let's say this is the case of Samsung, their source code, that's the programming code they use in building their products, is leaked. And then let's say hacker gets access to that source code and is able to go through the code and see security holes, see security breaches, and all of a sudden, all their products are insecure, not secure, just because from the first point, that data was leaked. So that's one danger. And there's also the danger of the provider itself, the model provider itself getting hacked. So imagine your data, imagine things you put in your AI chats. Just go look at your AI chats history. Imagine those things being leaked in public. Would you be comfortable with that? So that's the second part. Then there's also the risk of prompt injection. So basically, we interact with these AI models through prompts, through plain English prompts. And for experienced programmers, for people who know how these AI models work, there's what's called prompt injection. So that's basically putting in or giving the AI model malicious prompts that can make it do what it wasn't designed to safely do. So, for instance, there are models that can make the AI model bring out its source code. There are models that can make it remove the safety requirements around it. And this risk is especially around companies who have built products around this AI model. So there was the issue with Slack. I think we all know Slack. Slack is the chat channel used by most companies. We had an issue recently where there was a prompt injection attack on Slack, which made it leak private chats. You have public and private channels, but because of the prompt injection attack, it's leaked private channel info, which that's not good at all. So a lot of these AI models can be jailbroken. They're actually jailbroken every single day. Well, I think another thing I can talk about is back same 2023. I think I experienced that too. There was a day where this happened, where if you log into your ChatGPT dashboard, you ended up seeing chats from other people's chats history. So just imagine, like I said, look at your chat history and would you like anyone else? Would you like your competitors seeing those things in your chat history? Answer is as good as mine. So I think I've talked about 2 points, exposure, vulnerability. But I think if you've interacted with me long enough, I wouldn't talk about problems without talking about solutions to these problems. So this third point would actually be not another problem, but a solution. And the third point, I'll talk about how to minimize risk while using these AI models for your business, because from what I see, from what's widely obtainable, it's going to be almost impossible not to use AI in your business. I can, like for our business, like the productivity is through the roof. Like things that maybe 5 people could do can now be done by one person with enough time to spare. So the productivity is through the roof. So it's something that every business should adopt, but adopt with wisdom. So the first way to minimize the risk of using these AI models, I mentioned on the first point and second point about explicitly telling these AI models that they shouldn't reuse your data. So one thing, I know a lot of us want to sign up for things, and then we have this huge great wall of text called the Terms of Use and Privacy Policy. And we tend to just scroll to the end of it and accept. I think the first thing you should do, if you're using these public AI models, I'll talk about private in later in this series, but if you're using these public AI models, the first thing you should do is to look at the privacy policy. Go back. You've already signed up, but go back and look through the privacy policy. Check where your data is saved. Check how your data is analyzed. Check how your data is going to be used by these AI models. I think it would give you especially since you're using this for your business, and for business, you're dealing with a lot of clients, a lot of customers whose data might end up being fed up into those models. So you should really confirm what's going to happen to that data once it is fed to the model. So that's the first thing I would say. Second thing I would say is sorting your data. I mentioned your chats being leaked, your chat history being leaked, and things like that. These are things that can happen, especially as AI makes programming easier, it's making hacking too easier. So another thing you should do in your business, especially when you have different people using these AI models, is to create data sorting policies. Sort your data into public data that can be seen by anyone. If it's seen, you don't care. Create a category for internal data. Internal data is data that should be used only within the company. So create that category for your data. Create a category for confidential data and restricted data. So by the time you categorize your data this way, it's not, you don't necessarily have to use these categories, but at least this gives you an idea. Public and secrets, basically. So public data can be fed into the AI models. The rest have to be heavily redacted. Don't put any identifiable in identifiable data or information in it. But once you classify your data that way, it's going to make things much easier. Then I think the third way I would say you can minimize the risk of these AI models is having policies. Policies, I know I've had an episode on systems, I've had an episode on SOPs and things like that. So you should have rule-based policies, especially when you have a bigger company. You should have rule-based policies around how AI should be used. And this policy should be in your employee handbook. This policy should be, because I have seen a couple of companies outrightly ban AI use in the companies. And yes, for some industries, that is important because industries that deal with the lives of people, industries that deal with the money, the finances of people, things like that. Yes, AI is not as reliable. Yeah, it needs to be caged and gated for to make sure the output is given is real. But for other industries, I think rather than banning this AI, you should have rules and policies, rules pointing back to the data categorization I mentioned, rules pointing back to the right models to use, especially if you're using public models. I think I would mention about hosting your AI models privately, where you won't have a lot of these issues in the future. Have all those things in your policies so you don't have an event, you don't have any situation where your employees say, oh, I didn't know, or I wasn't aware of this rule or anything like that. So make sure you have your rules around AI usage in your company. I think other things you need to do are to encrypt your data. You also need to use secure platforms when you're using the AI. Make sure the computers you're using to access these models too are secure, because a lot of times it might not be from models, it might be from your computer. Then also keep an eye on things generally. Keep an eye on the usage. Keep an eye on everything while using these AI models in your business. So after the leak in 2023 at Samsung, they totally banned the use of AI. We have companies like Cisco. Cisco pushes training, a lot of training to employees on AI usage to make sure it's used responsibly and safely. And there, like I said, there are different ways. I mentioned different ways you can minimize the risks and maximize the benefits of AI in your business. AI is important and it's useful, and I don't think it's going anywhere soon. The thing is that there are the dark sides, and those sides need to be taken care of for you to maximize its use, because it can expose your data through leaks, like I mentioned earlier. It can hide vulnerabilities. It can expose your data to malicious hacking attempts and things like that. And you can also get tricked through prompt injections and jailbreaking to say things it shouldn't that you've saved on it. So I think the main thing should be you should protect yourself, protect your business by assessing the usage, classifying, categorizing your data safely, having policies around rock solid policies around AI usage, and also making sure every communication and making sure data is secure, making sure every communication is secure. And that way, I think you should be able to use AI, maximize the use of AI without any incident. So this is a short series. I don't have any guests on this episode, so it's short. So this is a short series on AI usage in business. So the next thing I'll talk about is, especially for businesses in the EU or serving the European Union, which is how GDPR and AI usage are interconnected. So you know the GDPR is the General Data Protection Regulation. That's data. AI works with data. You're putting data from customers into AI. So we'll talk about the link between AI usage in your business and the GDPR. So see you in that episode. It's going to be in the link below. Bye for now.